This is what Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland had to say about the 2024 budget in the House of Commons on Tuesday.
Mr. Speaker, we are acting today to ensure fairness for every generation. We are moving with purpose to help build more homes faster. We are making life cost less. We're driving the kind of economic growth that will ensure every generation of Canadians can reach their full potential.
But unlike previous speeches by finance ministers, the word Indigenous was not included. And it is a budget that invests less in Indigenous priorities than in previous years. From 2015 to the current fiscal year, the Liberals spent about $32 billion on Indigenous initiatives. That is now projected to drop to about $9 billion in new spending over the next 5 years. This year's budget targets $918 million over 5 years for Indigenous housing and infrastructure. This is also much lower than the roughly $6 billion over the same time period put forward in the previous two budgets. And only a drop in the bucket of the $349 billion the Assembly of First Nations says is needed to address the First Nations infrastructure gap by 2030. There's not much for missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls initiatives either. Just $1.3 million over 3 years to co-develop a red dress alert system. Other Indigenous spending in the budget includes $1.5 billion over 5 years for the Indigenous communities exercising jurisdiction over child welfare services, $1.1 billion for First Nations and Inuit health, $927 million for on-reserve income assistance. The government is also making about $5 billion in loan guarantees available for Indigenous communities that want to pursue natural resource projects. There's also $388 million over 5 years in new supports for Indigenous entrepreneurship and tourism. Other new spending includes $290 million over 5 years to support Indigenous cultures and language, $243 million for First Nations post-secondary education, and $168 million to address anti-Indigenous racism in healthcare. The deficit is expected to drop slightly to $38.4 billion this fiscal year from $40 billion last year. Fraser Needham, APTN National News, Ottawa.